Hello everybody. So today I'm going to show you how I teach pullbacks. Now really quick, some people call them pullbacks, some people call them pickups. The correct or more traditional term is pullback. However, I don't like that term, so I use both. I call them pullbacks, but I make it very clear to my students that it's not about pulling back. It's about pulling up. So I actually usually call them pickups just to reinforce that in their minds. All right, but without any more delay, here we go. Oh, actually, I am going to do the exercise, then I'm going to explain some of the stuff as to why I do it afterwards. So for those of you teachers, then you'll have a little better understanding of what's going on, and I might address some issues that you see in teaching these to your students too. So, I start having them bounce or hop, little short hops, flexing their feet and keeping their knees bent and flexing their feet. Now, generally, we don't want to flex our feet in tap, but in this case, it's a better habit than the alternative, which I'll get to later. So it's better to have the habit of flexing your feet in pickups and then have to break students of that. Or if you're learning these, it's better to learn it this way and then break yourself of that habit than to have the alternative, which I'll talk about later. So we start with bounces, flexed feet. Knees bent, you can do them straight too, but knees bent is better for your knees, right? Then we do 8 counts. I do 8 counts of that. Then I have my students tap for 8 counts. So that's 8 counts or 16 taps, twice as fast. Then we do a loose ankle nerve tap, 16 times or 8 counts. Then the fourth part of the exercise, we do all just pickups, 8 pickups, or excuse me, pullbacks. So here we go. All right. Now, you might think that my pickups look like wings, right? As long as I'm not being lazy, there's no scrape or brush or anything in there that makes it a wing. None of that. I just leave the floor, right? It's not a wing. But my feet do flare out. That's because you want relaxed ankles. And I've done so much ballet that as soon as I relax and I lift, my foot turns out. So that's why. But they're not wings. Wings initiate from your knees going out to the side, right? There, as opposed to there, initiating from your quads. Moving on. Why, thank you. So, here's the technical stuff. This is more for teachers than if you're just learning to do your pullbacks or your pickups. But for teachers, the first point that this helps with, this exercise helps with is, it might seem obvious, but we have to leave the floor. And we have to leave the floor without getting so high that we can't touch it. And that's a problem for a lot of people who are just learning their pickups, right? So by doing the bounce, we're creating space. We're forcing the dancers to create space with that flexed foot, okay? And as they understand, once they get that and they understand it, it's amazing how well that translates into their pickups. Related to this, you'll sometimes see a couple errors in pickups as students are learning them. And, well, yeah, you'll recognize these. So one of them we see is where we get that, right? And they get a scrape and there's no tap in there, there's no spank in there anywhere. That's where we want to avoid them going backwards. That's why I say pickups, not pullbacks. That's why I say, and I'm not saying pullbacks is wrong, I'm just saying that it helps reinforce a way of doing it. The other thing that we'll sometimes see is it's like they get halfway there, so they go, and that's not a pickup, or that's not a pullback either, but they're getting there. That's the right idea. Okay, that brings me to point 2. By by lifting the toes off the floor as you jump. You jump with your quads, you lift the toes off the floor, you're training your quads to jump. If you've done ballet, you get it. It just might be hard disengaging your feet, right? But you can get a quick push out of the floor with your quads, and then you've created that space, and now you're set up where you're going straight up and not back, right? And at the same time, you are set up where you can now do stuff. Because remember, we have to, in a pickup, leave the floor, but then we still have to be able to touch the floor. So we go, and as we go up off the floor, we have all of this that we can use as we come back down. And that brings me to part 3. The third thing that my exercise helps students learn to do is to control the physical space and the tempo of the step. So, if we jump, and we jump through the balls of our feet, I'm going back to, the very beginning. If we jump through the balls of our feet, we're up so high that if we continue up, we can't touch the floor. So that kind of jump is no good because we got to touch the floor, right? So once we start off the ground and our foot is free, but we are still moving up, we can tap anywhere in that jump until we come back down and we have to stand on our feet. Right? You can do as many taps, whatever kinds of things you want. This also helps with wings and toe pops and other stuff too. Now, when dancers really start to get their pickups, when they're starting to really get the pickups, pullbacks, then what I find tends to happen is that they do the tap or the spank at the top of the jump, provided they're still touching the floor, right? So, or still able to touch. So we go up, it's usually right about there. So if I do it slow, just watch this foot, we get this. So right as they start to stop, slow down, and then go back down to earth, that's where that pickup usually happens. But if you're creating that space efficiently and effectively, you can make those sounds anywhere you want. So you can swing it on the front end, you can swing it on the back end, and then, of course, you can do multiples where you're hitting more than one time, right? And that's all because of how you're doing the pickup or the pullback, how you're leaving the floor. So, hopefully that gave you some stuff. I'm going to do a couple of pickups here for you, and there you go. Have a good one.